This is Campus News, reporting the top stories from colleges and universities.
Next on Campus News.
A controversial women's sports advocate visited NDSU. Hear her thoughts on the Title IX debate.
MSUM students traveled the world without leaving campus.
One group of NDSU students is raising money for a young man during the fight of his life.
The fairways are clear this spring in Moorhead. See how one Cobber golfer is heating up along with the temperatures. Good morning and welcome to Campus News. I'm Chris Hovden.
And I'm Alex Sapp. A controversial former college swimmer who campaigns against trans women in sports has brought her message to NDSU.
I talked to Riley Gaines about her views and what she wants those who disagree with her to know. Riley Gaines is an advocate against transgender women competing in women's sports. That includes swimming, where she tied in the 2022 200-yard NCAA championship with openly trans swimmer Leah Thomas, who also won the women's 500-yard freestyle.
My heart rate was still high. Having just competed, my adrenaline was still pumping. And so the first thing that I thought ended up being the first thing that I said. And the first thought that I had was, isn't this everything that Title IX was passed to prevent from happening?
Riley says her concerns aren't just with competition.
When you turn around, there's a 6'4", 22-year-old man, fully intact, fully exposing himself, inches away from where you were simultaneously fully undressed.
In March, she was one of 16 female athletes who launched a case against the NCAA over the participation of trans athletes.
Again, bigger than just women's sports, it means men would take academic and athletic scholarships away from women. Men would have full access to bathrooms, locker rooms, changing spaces on campuses. Men could be randomly housed in dorm rooms with women, which is happening here at North Dakota State University, mind you.
She visited NDSU as part of her Reclaim Feminism campus tour, bringing many people to the campus, including North Dakota Attorney General Drew Wrigley. While she was inside the Gate Citibank Auditorium sharing her beliefs, two protesters also voiced their opinion. They held signs that said, "I support sore losers," and "No TERFs on Bison Turf." TERF is an acronym for Trans-Exclusive Radical Feminist. Riley says protests like these don't impact her.
My message to the people who come here to oppose me or who might have differing views than me, I welcome those individuals to come because ultimately I think that's what we need. I think we need civil discourse. I think we need to encourage these discussions, and I would be more than happy to engage with anyone who has dissenting viewpoints.
She says she was a target of an assault by protesters in the spring of last year at an event similar to the one at NDSU.
I'm literally saying there are two sexes, and that you can't change your sex, and that each sex is deserving of equal opportunity, privacy, and safety. That's it.
Chris Hovden, Campus News. On the other side of the discussion, trans rights advocates say trans athletes are just trying to compete, not trying to find a way to get an unfair advantage. They say some people are simply not well informed when it comes to understanding trans people, and that all it takes is an open mind.
The reason why we have TERFs to begin with, the reason why we have anti-trans activists to begin with is people are genuinely ignorant. I don't use that term to be like, oh, how dare these people be uninformed, because we all start there, right?
In the same hearing Gaines spoken, President and CEO of the National Women's Law Center, Fatima Goss-Graves, said that Title IX not only protects women's right to play sports, but prohibits any sex-based discrimination in athletics. Later on in sports, we'll talk about what Title IX says and how it impacts trans athletes.
College campuses across the U.S. have experienced major pro-Palestinian protests on their grounds this week. A movement that started at New York's Columbia University now stretches to the West Coast, and concerns are rising about student safety, access to the classrooms, and the possibility of violence. Classes are being canceled at some schools, including Columbia University, where in-person classes have been canceled for the rest of the semester. The White House says President Biden is monitoring the protests in the U.S., but won't say if he believes New York officials should deploy the National Guard to restore order, adding that the president condemns what he called alarming rhetoric at some of the demonstrations. A judge has dismissed charges against a college student who police say was planning a campus shooting. The former student at St. Olaf's College, Waylon Kurtz, was charged with conspiracy to commit second-degree assault, conspiracy to commit threats of violence, making terroristic threats, and conspiracy to commit theft. Judge Christine Long dismissed 2 of the felony counts, citing a lack of evidence. Kurtz was arrested after a custodian found empty packages of gun magazines outside of his dorm room, where police found more tactical gear inside, including empty ammo boxes, extended magazines, and a tactical vest. An annual event at MSUM allows students to show support for victims of sexual violence.
Reporter Matthew Stewart shows how these students are raising awareness one step at a time.
Doing that work.
Walk a Mile in Their Shoes is an event dedicated to raising awareness about sexual violence on college campuses across the U.S. It is meant literally. Students show support by walking laps in shoes that represent the past. In small groups, students and faculty at MSUM shared their own stories and thoughts about sexual violence.
This is a free space to talk about what you've been through. I mean, the community, or even in school, maybe we don't feel comfortable enough to talk to people around us.
After hours, nights, holidays, weekends.
The difficulty to share can stem from how old the story is and the impact that it made.
It's everyone sharing their own story, and that inspires you to share yours. Maybe even gives you a chance to heal yourself.
Despite a small group, the number doesn't matter. Plenty of walking still happens, and it means something for a lot of people.
We cannot be silenced on this, and I think that comes with a lot of different things. Silence is violence. If you can stand up and say, I stand with our survivors, that's a huge step.
The future is about spreading the word. Getting everyone to come forward is the ultimate goal.
So it's super important, but it is hard. Again, it takes a long time, and everyone's experience is different in it.
By sharing their story, they form a small ripple that creates waves of change. Matthew Stewart, Campus News.
According to the Department of Justice, 1 in 5 women and 1 in 16 men are sexually assaulted while attending a 4-year institution in the U.S. 2 reproductive rights advocates recently held a talk on the campus of Minnesota State University Moorhead. Merle Hoffman and Jennifer Baumgartner visited campus to talk about Hoffman's book, titled Choices, a post-Roe abortion rights manifesto. MSUM's Women's Center hosted the event after running a student book club about choices. MSUM coordinator of gender and sexuality, Ariane Fawcett, says events like these can help students get more informed about issues in the world around them.
Just educating, folks about feminism, bringing in speaker series, talking about things like having reproductive health and wellness and justice is really important.
Hoffman has been writing and speaking on reproductive health rights since the early 1970s.
NDSU students are doing a lot by giving just a little. Reporter Coleman Rader shows us how much difference just 1 penny can make.
Each year, NDSU has a competition between colleges to see who can raise more money towards helping someone with the battle no one should have to fight.
The College of Health and Human Sciences and the College of Engineering host a Battle of the Census, it's called, and each of us tries to raise money for a recipient, and this year we chose Dawson.
17-year-old Dawson Van Sickle of Grand Forks was diagnosed with osteosarcoma, a form of bone cancer that develops commonly in young teens and weakens the tissue of the bones. It was originally diagnosed as athletic arthritis from football, but his dad noticed it wasn't getting any better.
We said no to practice, no to games. At this point, this was late August, until we look into it further. And then after the x-rays and the MRI, then they noticed a cloudiness in his knee and then sent us to Mayo.
NDSU's fundraiser makes it easier for mom and dad to be there for Dawson on his road to recovery.
Financially, it gives us a better financial ability to be there for him, take time off of work, to travel to Rochester and back.
Even through recovery, Dawson still makes time to enjoy the things he loves.
Dawson's always been a real sweet, fun-loving, goofy kid. At an early childhood, very talkative, loved to play, loved to joke around. He'll be a senior next year. He will miss his football season, but he's going to be there on the sidelines, cheering them on, helping them out, doing what he can.
For now, Dawson aims to continue to inspire those around him. With photographer Hunter Schwartz, Coleman Rader, Campus News.
The 2024 Battle of the Senses raised nearly $11,200 double the amount of 2023. In honor of its 20th anniversary, M-State is giving back to the community in more ways than one. The 20 Years, 20 Acts of Kindness program encourages students and faculty to make a difference in their communities. It marks the 20th anniversary of 4 separate campuses being combined to form M-State. From participating in blood drives to repairing vehicles to those in need and making tie blankets, the good deeds have stretched all year long. M-State President Carrie Brimhall says she appreciates seeing the school's busy students who live off campus and often juggle full-time jobs take the time to connect with the community.
We really were intentional this year about getting our students out, 1, so the community sees how incredible they are, and 2, so that they understand that they're part of a larger ecosystem that is a community.
The final act of community service will wrap up this month with a fundraiser for the Salvation Army.
Each year, MSUM gives students an opportunity to showcase the projects that they have spent their college careers working on. The yearly Student Academic Conference held in the Comstock Memorial Union displays work from a wide range of majors. Students can even use the conference to present to employers for future job opportunities. Students say that the event also allows them to connect with and learn about other students' work.
I think just showing other students and being able to walk around the same people in your department that you know have been working but might not have seen exactly what they're working on, it's really cool because you get other ideas from different people.
2024 marked the 26th year of the Student Academic Conference. Back for another year, MSUM's annual Celebration of Nation gives international students the chance to showcase their home countries.
Reporter Drew Berg met with students and administrators to talk about the effect the event has on students.
Entering the doors of the Roland Dill Center for the Arts, the sounds and smells of international music and cuisine overwhelm your senses. You've just walked into MSUM's Celebration of Nations. The event gives students of all backgrounds chances to learn about countries from all over the world.
It feels like people are traveling all over the world in one night.
The first part of the celebration involves international students putting on booths about their home countries, with some even having food from their native cuisine.
So it's just cheese, mayonnaise, and some spices.
A flag parade is then held to introduce the represented countries.
Hi, I'm Jenny and I'm from Norway.
The parade is followed by student performances. After serving as the event's MC last year, Liberian student Roberto Sherman was happy to continue his role for this year's celebration.
I love the community, the international student community. It's a great community that comes with different culture, different people, and I love to be out there to showcase my skills.
Representing their home country can be a daunting task for some students, but most students view the role with pride.
For me, representing my home country is signified to me giving people insight, about my country, what my country is like, what Liberia is like.
Cheever says she hopes the Celebration of Nations will continue to be a great experience for students in the future. With photographer Katie Bartnick, Drew Berg, Campus News.
This year, 25 different countries were represented at the Celebration of Nations. Engineering students at South Dakota State University have started to build a new tradition. A team of students have made it to the finals of a NASA competition for the second year. The group of 5 will showcase their prototype of a rover that can explore the craters of a moon and search for ice and water. Last year, the team had the best entry in the Lunar Surface Transporter category and was honored for building the best prototype in any of the 4 categories. They'll be part of 14 different teams in competition in Florida from June 10th to 12th. And another university team from South Dakota will be heading to Florida to test their skills in competition. Dakota State University has made it to the North American Championship in programming. The team consists of 3 students as well as their coach. It's the second team in the school's history to make it to the championship. The programming competition makes the team write a program that can solve a list of math problems. They'll be competing in Orlando next month against the likes of Stanford, Yale, and MIT.
The worlds of technology and art are coming together at MSUM's Technology Museum exhibition. The Association for Computing Machinery Club at MSUM found an unlikely organization to partner with this semester. They combined their knowledge of computers with the Place Art Club's artistic talents to create an exhibit displaying vintage technology alongside technology-inspired art pieces. With computer technology developing so quickly, ACM President Judah Neva says that many people don't fully grasp how far it's come since the days of early Macintosh computers and Atari gaming.
Technology moves too fast for us to even step back and go, oh wow. And hopefully this museum can do a little bit of that.
MSUM's ACM plans to make more displays next school year, making each one bigger, better, and more interactive than the last. Students at NDSU got the chance to showcase everything from singing to artwork at the annual Bison Brevities talent show.
As reporter Nate Cohen tells us, the event was about more than just the singing and dancing.
NDSU's Beckwith Recital Hall flooded with a variety of talents. It's all a part of the annual Bison Brevities event, a variety show that wrangles all kinds of talents, like students have been doing for nearly a century.
I think with this theme, it allows people to do things like painting or things like dancing and not have to necessarily sing or do comedy. Like, it opens a lot of opportunities.
Bison Brevities is more than just a talent show. Every year, they use the event to fundraise for a local nonprofit, chosen by the students. This year, the show benefit the Rape and Abuse Crisis Center.
It's always nice to just give back to different organizations and to keep our tradition going.
Kaylee Weigel, one half of this year's Judge's Choice winner, says the victory for her slam poetry performance was nice, but it was never the goal.
Remember my sister, struck down by the bug? Mono she caught from you, you little slug.
It's really cool to be recognized for what we did, but we were really here just to spread some joy and get some people to laugh and get some talents in. This is a really great event to get some students out and just showcase some talent we have here on campus.
How did Weigel and her partner spend their winnings?
I made a bet that if we win, we're going to donate it back to the Rape and Abuse Crisis Center. So we'll be donating it back to the cause.
With photographer Alex Sapp, Nate Cohen, Campus News.
10 different acts performed at the show, which raised over $5,000 for the Rape and Abuse Crisis Center. And now we turned over to Josh Boyko for a look at this week's sports, and as promised, more about Title IX.
Thanks, Alex. Title IX and women's rights in athletics are becoming a hot-button topic for universities across the United States. The Biden administration announced new Title IX regulations to clarify the roles of public schools and universities on what protections and rights they must provide. Title IX is a women's rights law that prohibits discrimination based on sex and began to provide equal opportunities in women's sports.
What the federal government says is the basement. We can build onto it and have additional protections. So, for example, in 2020, when protections for transgender individuals was taken out of Title IX, Minnesota state law still had protections for that population, and so it didn't change the way we work.
One key issue the regulations do not address, though, is the participation of transgender athletes in women's sports. The NAIA became the first college sports organization to ban biological males from competing in women's sports. The NCAA currently works on a sport-by-sport basis, but requires that transgender athletes prove that they meet certain requirements to be eligible to compete. New Title IX regulations in athletics are still in progress. And now we take a trip down the fairway with Concordia Men's Golf. With a month of tournaments behind them, reporter Caitlin Zeiger went to see how this team is chipping away at the green.
There's a drastic difference between last spring and now. Last year, this course still had snow in places, but golf and spring are in full swing now.
Yeah, it's been good so far. It's nice to actually have a spring season. Usually it's kind of hit or miss depending on weather, and we've had a couple tournaments already.
Weather's been great. It's nice, playing warm weather. Got to play on some green grass, which is always nice. Just super fun being able to go compete with all your best friends.
The warm weather has given these guys a chance for better golf. Sophomore Gabe Benson is taking the season's good weather as a challenge after winning the MIAC championships last year.
We just started our year 2 weeks ago, probably, in Illinois. That was good, played well there, and then played well in Nebraska too, so it's been a good couple of tournaments.
Really, just his mental game has really been awesome to see. Freshman year he had a good season, but just not quite his standards, and this year has been a lot better, and it's been fun to watch him.
In Illinois, Benson placed 9th over 140 golfers. In Nebraska, he placed 5th of 46.
Gabe's awesome. He's constantly, giving us tips on what we can do to improve, and I mean, we're obviously doing the same for him, but no, it's cool. It's cool to have one of your teammates, being that successful.
As an individual, scores are important, but that number still goes to a team score, making everyone's game just as important.
Hopefully we play well as a team and team can compete and try to win as a team would be awesome.
This year it's actually nice to get some practice in and then just to see ourselves against our competitors, and it's been good so far. It's been nice.
The team is driving for some big wins individually, which will bring in some big team wins altogether. With photographer Jalen Wagner, Caitlin Zeiger, Campus News Sports.
The team tees off today at the St. John Spring Invite. A Bemidji State football player is gearing up for a shot to play in the Canadian Football League. BSU wide receiver Dell Duncan Busby got the chance to compete at the CFL Combine to improve his draft stock. The All-NSIC athlete finished 5th in the 40-yard dash with a time of 4.56 seconds. Busby is the 13th ranked prospect among college draft-eligible players in the CFL draft. He ranks 2nd in school history in receptions and 3rd in touchdowns. The CFL draft is on April 30th. The MSUM softball team is used to starting the season on the road due to winter weather, but this year it took nearly 40 games to play on their home diamond. Reporter Jacob Anderson met with the softball team to discuss the spring playing conditions.
The Dragons softball team started the season with hopes of hosting games early in the season, but with winter conditions coming back, the team started the season with 26 straight away games.
I think what affected most people was in the beginning of conference. I think everybody kind of drank the Kool-Aid and said, yeah, we're going to be good. We're going to be able to play outside everywhere. And now all of a sudden that bad weather kind of came back and we're in the spot where we're going, where do we find a place to play?
We always make the most of it, and we always just come to compete, and I think we do well no matter where we are.
While Nemzek Field is primarily the home for MSUM football, the softball team has made the football field its home away from home.
I'd like to say it's unusual, however, but since I've been here, I've never played a home game where it hasn't been on the football field.
While playing on the football field may look different from the traditional softball field, the Dragons still look forward to hosting games.
We like playing on the football field. It's not too bad. We have a really, really big field here, like our actual field. So sometimes it can be kind of nice to play on a smaller field. And we do like turf, but they both have their pluses.
The Dragons say their away stretch has allowed them to develop a new mindset and appreciate being back home.
When you do play that many on the road, you get used to being in a hotel and you get used to a routine just like we do in everyday life.
It's a different atmosphere when you're here and you're in Moorhead and you have people in the stands that you know and people cheering you on. Yeah, we were very eager to be here.
With photographer Isabella Turnus, Jacob Anderson, Campus News Sports.
Coach Armitage was finally able to coach his first game on the Nemzek softball field on April 14th. And also over at Nemzek Hall, MSUM athletes and members of the community took an icy plunge for a good cause. Teams raised money for Special Olympics Minnesota to raise awareness for athletes with intellectual disabilities. This year's plunge brought in a new flavor of fun, with some participants wearing costumes. Retired Army veteran Nick Penn made his 13th jump in 3 years and gained inspiration on his plunging attire from close sources.
I just enjoy doing it. It's fun. Gets a lot of weird looks. Sometimes I'm the only person there in a costume. I have 7 nieces and nephews, and I told them I was doing a polar plunge, and they thought it'd be hilarious if I started doing polar plunges in a taco costume.
The 140 plungers combined to raise over $15,000 for Special Olympics Minnesota, surpassing their goal. And guys, what do you think is more epic, jumping into an ice bucket or doing it in a taco costume?
We'll do it in our suits.
Thanks, Josh.
2024 marks the 40th year of Campus News on Prairie Public Television.
With such an important anniversary for us, I decided to take a look back into our program's history to see where it all began and just how things have changed.
This is Campus News.
Good evening, I'm Carolyn Pennington.
On February 1st, 1984, Campus News first took to the airwaves on Prairie Public Television. A big step for then Moorhead State University's journalism program, the show began under Professor Martin Grindelin.
It's important to to be, seekers and tellers of the truth, and to use the best vehicles to disseminate that truth, and television is one of those.
Though the classes needed to train students to make a newscast didn't exist yet, Grindelin already had a proven track record.
I had developed television programs, news programs at 2 other universities before coming here. So I was confident we could do it, and that we could do it with quality.
However, doing it with quality wasn't easy. Compared to now, the technology was primitive, the cameras were bulky, and editing was a nightmare.
So that's what we'd shoot our packages on, and then we'd come back and we would share an edit room. It took forever.
WDAY's Kevin Wallivan was part of the first group to work on campus news in the early 80s.
Our graduating class of 84 was kind of that first guinea pig class, and we didn't know what we were doing, right?
But under Grindelin's watchful eye, campus news continued on, with each class getting its turn to cover the biggest events in the region. From floods in 1997 and 2009, to presidents, to kings.
King Olaf's visit to Concordia marked the establishment.
And while the technology has changed, the fundamentals haven't.
Good writing is still good writing, good reporting is still good reporting.
All those things we did in 1983, and I'm still doing today at work. And so the students here are still doing that.
And it's that basic formula that's brought the program all the way to its 40th anniversary. Alex Sapp, Campus News. And that's going to do it for this 40th year of Campus News.
We'll leave you with more from the Bison Brevity Show.
Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you around for the next 40 years.
I go running through the thicket, I go careless through the stars, just to hold her for a minute, though it leaves me wanting more. And hold me close, my dear.
Campus News is produced by the Television News Workshop in the School of Communication and Journalism at Minnesota State University Moorhead, in cooperation with Prairie Public Television.